I'm going to make my standalone wiring harness for a small block Chevy. Just kidding, nobody calls it that. We just called it engine wiring back in the day. Anyways, here's how the wiring basically goes. And this is for any kind of a older small block Chevy or anything like that. Same thing if you're putting it in a car or on a trailer, doesn't matter. So you got your battery. Your negative post goes to the engine block. And since I don't really have a car frame, I'm just going to ground everything to the block. Then the positive post, one connection is from the alternator, and that charges the battery. Then the other connection goes over to the key. So then from the key, you got a couple outputs. Right there you can see that goes, that's a 12 volt in, says battery. Accessories I'm not using. Ignition, and ST is your starter. So the starter wire goes from the key right to the starter. I know, right? Then the ignition wire is your hot wire when the key is forward and cranking. So that wire goes down, it's going to run my fuel pump, and it's going to power my distributor. And that's it. You got like 6 wires. I'm going to throw some fuses in here so hopefully nothing catches on fire. And here's my collection of junk. I got some relays, fuses, connectors, wiring, heat shrink, soldering, all that crap. So I'm going to turn all this into a wiring harness. First test will just be the starter circuit with nothing else connected. I got a negative over here that goes to the block. Positive goes to the positive on the starter. I got my little wire here ran to the starter circuit thingy that goes to your key. Got a little inline fuse, and I just need to wire the key to the positive, and then we'll see if the starter works, which it should. Worked when I pulled it out of the car. So that's the one that goes to the starter. I'm just going to connect the battery one. All right. Make sure key is in the off position. Key out. All right. Now we'll touch our positive and make sure nothing explodes. And nothing exploded. Shove that guy on there. So now we should get some cranking action when I turn this key. Alright, so our starter circuit works. And now I'm ready to do the ignition circuit that goes to the distributor and the fuel pump. Looks like we got a bleeder, so I kind of forgot to hook up my oil pressure gauge. So I just shoved oil everywhere, which is kind of good. It's got oil in it. It's pretty clean. So get that gauge hooked up before I do further testing. I'm ready to mount the pump to the trailer frame, but what I need to figure out is the direction of rotation of this pump. I don't know if the pulley needs to go this way or this way. I looked all over it. There's no arrows. Normally there is. I looked at their website. I pulled up the tech specs on this. No information. Normally what that tells me is it doesn't matter, but I don't know. I'm not a pressure washer guy, so I need to test it. Because I can't reverse the engine, obviously. Well, you can, but that gets a little more complicated. So the easiest way is to mount the pump whichever direction it needs to go. So my test rig here is just a gallon of water. I got the inlet hose stuck into it. Hopefully this creates suction. Water should come flying out the other end. Then to power it, I'm just going to use a battery drill. Hopefully this works. Alright, so nothing's happening that way. Let's reverse the drill. Try the other way. Whoa. Not as easy as I thought it would be. It's my patented belt tensioning system. Alright, so not working. So I'm going to pour some water down this hose. I guess it won't create suction. Probably relies on the water pressure. But of course for this I'm not going to go in detail like rigging up something crazy. So we'll just pour water in it. Now, to hold the hose up, run the pump at the same time. Go, throw your pump on the floor. I got you, buddy. All right. Let's try pushing down instead of up. We got water coming out over there. All right, now just for testing's sake, I'm going to run it the other direction, see if water still comes out. And that way it tells me that my rotation doesn't matter. And water still comes out. So rotation doesn't matter. That's a good thing. Most likely what I'm going to do is mount the pump on the driver's side over here, only because of the water outlet. Welded a couple of my scraps on here to make a shelf. I got my piece of whatever this came off of. Kind of sits right there. I'm trying to reuse the belts that came on the pressure washer. They're nothing special, but well, they're free, so that's why I'm using them. I can just barely get it on there. And I got a little bit of a gap, so that'll basically work. And I'm just going to put my studs right in the center of my slot. That way, if I need to change belt sizes, I should be able to go plus or minus a little. I can always reposition this if I need to. So there we are, all able to be bolted down and aligned, and tensioning the pulley. Slide it forward to do the belt, slide it back to tighten the belt, all set. So that step's done. And to continue on making this engine run. I've got the standalone wiring harness for Chevy small block 350 here. So all these are fuse blocks I use for a lot of stuff. They're from mid-90s GMs. Get them really cheap at the junkyard and then just rewire them how you want. They've got 4 or 5 spots for relays, a couple of the big fuses, and then a bunch of little fuses. And a terminal over here for your main connection. So like I said, I've got it all rewired. Got my about 3 connections you need. And so we're going to wire this up. I was also able to find an old oil pressure gauge I had laying around that just happened to be the right fitting. So I got that guy screwed in. And then I dug through my pile of crustiness and I found a battery box that wasn't completely falling apart. So I've got a little battery box, with some dead stuff in it. So I'm going to somehow sort of secure that for now so the battery doesn't fly on the floor. So I got that. Throw these wires on and throw my spark plugs back in. I pulled those out when I was doing my crank testing. I need to pick up some kind of fuel cell for this trailer, but for now I'll just run it off this little moped tank or whatever this thing was. So we'll just alligator clip our pump on there. All right, ready to dump some gas in this thing and wake up all the neighbors. No clicky clicky. In all your excitement, you forgot the doll. Let's see if this is the ground for my relays. I think I forgot that. You can hear the relays clicking on. Turn the key off. No relays. All right, let's try that again. Ooh. Well, can't find my starter fluid, so we'll use the next best thing. I'm sure this is not OSHA approved. What the heck? Alright, so I'm not seeing any spark in that little spark plug there, so gonna have to troubleshoot that guy. I feel like when I'm working on one of these engines, I should be wearing like a mullet and driving an IROC. Rule number 1 of troubleshooting: always assume the guy before you was an idiot and didn't put a fuse in for the distributor. Alright, let's try this again. All right, so no cool flames, but at least we know all our wiring is good. That was just with a little bit of starter fluid. It's pretty late out right now, so I don't want to destroy my neighbors. So I'm going to get my fuel hooked up a little bit better and then find some exhaust for this and go from there.